test flow a bit. So let's do that. So as a developer, I have used a thing called test-driven development for quite some time. And I find that this workflow or way of working is very fast when it comes to getting feedback on what your code does and how you should continue the development. So test-driven development is basically that you start writing a test for something that you want to develop, and then you continue developing that, and then you go back to the test and modify the code, and you go back and forth between the test and the code, tests and the code. So it's sort of like a ping pong game. So, and I find this very effective when you want to get feedback and to know how to continue the development. So, the most important thing that I feel is that you know what the code does. You learn very quickly. So let's zoom into this TDD flow a little bit. So the last couple of years I've been doing a slightly different thing, which is called REPL-driven development. And REPL-driven development is very similar to test-driven development, but I find it even quicker. You get feedback even quicker than with a regular TDD setup. So REPL-driven development is about writing and evaluating code in a REPL, basically. And you can do experiments, and you can refactor and reevaluate, and you get instant feedback on what the code does and what you need to change. So I think that's even faster than test-driven development. So okay, REPL-driven development. So let's go back. So what's the REPL? So most of developers know what a REPL is. So the most common setup is having this. You open this shell and you use the REPL for your programming language. In this case, I'm using the Python REPL or the IPython REPL, which is an enhanced REPL for Python development. So what happens here is that we start a REPL session in isolation. So this session knows about the Python environment. So it knows about the Python language, basically. So as soon as we start writing things, adding variables or writing functions or even doing imports, so then this session will be more and more aware of the code. So we will add things to the session, and then that means that we can run functions, we can print out these variables and things like that. But with REPL-driven development, it's not really that. At least not what I mean with REPL-driven development. So what I'm thinking of is that you are in your code editor, where you have like your autocomplete, and you have your syntax highlighting and your favorite theme, color theme, and all of those things. But instead you have this running REPL in the background, or in a smaller smaller window or buffer. So that means that you write code and you can send that code to the running REPL, to the REPL session. So you write and do everything as you would do when writing your code, basically. So in this case, in this example, I have evaluated these two functions. I've sent them to the REPL session, so it's aware of these functions. And then I switched to a separate different module and evaluated that one. So the REPL session now knows about these two functions and also these two variables. And that means that I can evaluate the state of those variables and change code and reevaluate it and things like that. So in this example, if you look in the smaller area there, you see that I have evaluated this res variable on line 6, and the output was that it's a dictionary with 2 keys and 2 values, basically. So this setup is it works in basically all of any of your favorite code editors. So you can do this in Visual Studio Code, you can do this in PyCharm or Vim. But what I have done is that, or more like what I have missed is that when I write code and do this evaluation, this is really cool, but then I need to switch context if I want to see the result. I have to switch context to this other window. I have to look. I have my focus on the code, and then I have to look in another different place to know the results. And if it's a larger output, then maybe I need to scroll. So I wanted to find out if it was possible to make this even smoother and faster, this feedback loop even faster. So I don't have to switch context. What I've done here is that I can select a row or a region, and I can evaluate, and then an overlay, a small pop-up shows up with the result, evaluated result right next to it. So I can change code and re-evaluate and quickly see the result of it without doing this context switching. So the way I've done it is that I decided I wanted to reuse the existing tooling that I already had. So I know that my in-editor REPL, the IPython REPL, already does this evaluation. So I figured maybe I can extract the data and do this visualization as a separate thing. So that's how I've done it. So what I've done is that I've created this overlay and placed it where my cursor currently is, right next to the code. And then I've extracted the evaluated result and put it in this overlay. And I also want this overlay to have this nice looking syntax. So I've set it to this Python mode, so we get this syntax highlighting and so make it look very readable. And as a developer experience, nice developer experience thing, I also when you move the cursor, of course you don't want the overlay to be there. You want it to disappear. So that's those kinds of things I've added. So putting the overlay at the right place and feed it with the evaluated data, and then make it disappear when it's not interesting to look at anymore. So what I've described so far is something that I use on a daily basis, and it covers most of my needs while doing Python development. But one thing I still miss, and I miss it from my days as a Clojure developer, because over there we could have a running app on our local machine, and we can have our editor, and the app and the editor were connected. So when I did some changes in the code, the app would change without any restarts or anything like that. And the same if I would change the state of the app, I can inspect the state from the code. So they were connected. They are connected. So I was thinking, hey, this would be really cool if we could have it something like this in Python. So and that reminded me of Jupyter and Jupyter Notebooks, because I think notebooks, the way you do things there is very similar to what I was trying to achieve. So I was reading up a little bit on how this notebook thing works, and it turns out that a notebook is a client that talks to a server, that communicates with a server, and it's on the server that all this Python evaluation and all this thing happens. And then what I've done is that instead of starting up IPython in my editor, I start the Jupyter console instead. And then I can give it that unique ID, and it will be connected to that running kernel. So in this example, I've created this fast API CRUD app that has this create, read, and update and delete endpoints. And it has this, it's locally running, it has this database where you can do all these things. So I'm running this Fast API app in the kernel, and then I've connected to the kernel. I connected to the kernel from in my editor too. So both of them are connected to the kernel. So what I do now is that I want to initially create some data. So I'm going to add creating this message, and what I get back is a message ID. So I want to experiment in my browser. What do I get with that message ID? So I'm evaluating the read function, and I instantly get this evaluated result, which was this hello world text. So what happens if I do some changes in this app? So I'm going to grab this message ID and write something else. So now I can evaluate the same thing again, and you can see that the content has changed to this new value. So my editor isn't in any debug mode or something like that, or it doesn't know what database it doesn't have any environment variable set up or something like that. It is only connected to the kernel, and the kernel is aware of that. It's running the app, it has the connection strings and everything that is needed. So that's how this thing works. So now I want to do some inline hacking, because I want to store this input that is sent from this app, because I want to work with it afterwards. So I can add this dictionary that stores this message. So I'm updating this the source code of this app, and when I run any of these endpoints again, you will see that this I've grabbed the ID of this message. So the state changes and the new inputs are I can grab and I can use them for quick evaluation or testing. So this example is really simple. It was just an integer, but you can imagine that sending like a more complex object, maybe a pedantic schema or something, and you want to inspect what's coming in, and if you have some sort of validation that you want to test out. So the configuration or the code that I wrote to make this work is a little bit different than just adding an overlay. So I'm using this overlay just like with the IPython example, but in this case, when I change code, I have to think about where that code lives, because it's the app that runs the code, and so it's in the app context I need to manipulate with the data. So if you have started the app from some maybe a main function, and that module imports namespaces, then you need to, if you want to update a function or something like that, you need to update it in the correct namespace. So what I did before in IPython, by adding and changing things, everything ends up in the global namespace. But here, if you want the app to actually react to the changes, you need to put it in the right namespace. So that's what I do here. So I do some lookups. Where is this function? And then I do this reload of this function or module. And when I was developing this, I was thinking, hey, this is really ugly. I mean, this REPL and do some manipulation of the imports and things like that. So, and that didn't feel good. And then I was reminded of IPython, and IPython has this feature to reload any updated submodules. I was curious, how do they do it? So I looked in the IPython source code and saw that they also use import lib and reloading of this module. So once I've learned that, then I stopped thinking that my code was hacky. I thought it was good enough at least. So yeah. But one thing that has bothered me since for a long time is I quite often want to test out and evaluate individual rows that lives in a function. And quite often these rows, this code uses the input to that function, like the input parameters. So to be able to do that, I need to manually type some fake data and set it to this variable, and then I can evaluate the code. But I think that takes that slows me down. So I was thinking maybe I can do this in a quicker way, so I have this quicker feedback, so I can run this or evaluate this code much quicker. So my idea was maybe I can use an LLM for this. So if I give it the parameters, maybe it can return some random data, so I don't have to write it myself. So I ended up doing that. So I have this source code. I'm starting up, loading the repo of the code, and then I select this function name and the parameters with its data type. So I have this prompt that instructs the LLM to come up with fake data based on the tag name and on the data type, and then I can send that to the REPL. So I do that with a key command, and then I can proceed by running the code within the function that uses this inputs. So this works for all the data types. If there's a custom data type, you need to give the LLM extra context. So that's a thing to think about. But once it knows the context, it can generate this fake data that very often is good enough just to test out, like I've done here, like list destructuring and parsing and things like that. And I think that was all I had, and thank you for listening.
Let me get set up. And okay, now we're live. Take it away.
Hey, thanks for joining us. You're joining us for the Q&A section with David, whose talk we've just been watching on Python development with Emacs. And we'll just jump into the Q&A section. First of all, though, let me say, David, thank you so much for your talk.
Thank you for having me. So I'm really happy to be a part of the EmacsConf. Really happy about it.
Thanks so much. So as we wait for people to drop in their questions and so on, I'll just kind of add a couple of thoughts. I'm not personally much of a Python developer, so I'm just curious as to your thoughts on using Emacs and kind of the development methodology you showed as a way to learn Python.
Yeah, I think Emacs is perfect for it. If you're already Emacs user and you have the keyboard commands and everything uploaded in your brain, then learning Python shouldn't be too much of a too difficult, because there's a lot of good packages like we made that for Python. I'm using a thing called ELPy, which is really good for Python development. So you have this connection to a running backend the Jedi Python backend that will give you autocomplete and some refactoring and things like that. So I think Emacs is really good for Python development.
So what are some other how long have you been using Emacs? Kind of a general question. Sorry if you covered this and I missed it.
Oh no, I didn't. It's not that long actually. It was I think it was in maybe it was 2019 or 2020. It's when I started to. I was really fortunate enough to join a team that had chosen to develop an app in Lisp, in Clojure.
Cool.
And I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know Lisp at all, so it was like brand new. So I really had struggling to learn it. But at the same time, I was looking for, okay, which editor should I pick to do this? And I was before that like an IDE person, so I do use this big IDEs. And this time I figured maybe I should try something different. And I read this book about closure development, and the author was really into Emacs, and he was like, closure is really good for Emacs is really good for closure development. So that's how I started. So I like rewired my brain to learn all how Emacs works, like as opposed to like the mainstream editors out there. So that's how I started. So like 5 years ago, maybe.
Cool. So did you, what were some other, what editor were you primarily using before you?
So, back then it was like, I think it was like Sublime Text, and also some IntelliJ. What was the JetBrains? Their tools. And before that, when I was in the Microsoft world, so it's like Microsoft toolings basically. So I moved towards open source tooling and also open source development.
Very cool. So I see we've got a couple people that have joined on the BBB here with us for the live question. You're welcome to just throw your question into this chat, or if you've got a microphone connected, you're welcome to come off mute and throw a question in that way as well. You can join on Libra.chat IRC. You can join pound EmacsConf -dev, and we would happily take your questions there. Meanwhile, I've got a question coming in on the pad right now, so take that next. I'll just read it out. I don't quite see how your setup works with IPython. Sorry if you already answered this. Do you have your Emacs connect to the IPython kernel over XMPP socket that IPython sets up?
Oh, good question. So what I've done is I have two different connections. Like if I'm going to do this regular day-to-day Python work without when I want to evaluate code without thinking about the external connection, then I just use IPython, and I have my I'm using the LP Python package that you can set up which of the REPLs you want to start when you evaluate code. So that's IPython. But in the second part of the talk, where I connect to an externally running app, then I have set up the same configuration, but to start Jupyter, the Jupyter console instead. And when I start it up, it's like a dialog that will ask for running the ID of a running kernel. Because if you start something in a kernel, you will get this unique ID, so you can connect to it. So that's kind of the difference. So I have two different ways of starting up the Python REPL. So either IPython, which I do like for most of my daily work, or if I want this connection to a running app, I'm using the Jupyter console, basically.
Have you explored Org Babel at all? Can you talk about your approach compared to the Babel workflow?
Oh, interesting. No, I haven't actually. I haven't done that, but I think it's similar to Jupyter notebooks. So you can do some interactive. You can run Python there, but I haven't. I have too little knowledge about it to elaborate on that. Sorry.
Very good. All right. I'm just going to peek over to the other chats and make sure I'm not missing questions. Sorry, I got a lot of screens. Little dance here. All right. And I do see a few people in the chat. I'll just say again, if you joined us on the BBB, you're more than welcome to jump in with your questions or put questions into the chat here. I'm not a big Python person, so I can't get into the really interesting questions that are probably more more relevant. Just because a lot of it's kind of over my head. Have you seen the Miramo.io notebooks? These use standard Python.
Oh yes, I've seen. I haven't tried it myself, but I've seen it. It's I think it's a very interesting approach that probably will solve a lot of these things with interactive development in general. But because I think it's basically Python files and not this other file format that you have for the regular notebook setup. So I have that in my list of things to try out in the future. But it looks really, really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm hesitant to just ask you really boilerplate questions. I hate, you get an expert at a souffle shop and you ask about, making pasta or some other sort of.
No, go ahead. I'll gladly ask any questions.
So, just generally about Emacs as a coding developer, what are the features that you tend to lean on more heavily? Completion, or what have you? Maybe I could put it better as what have you spent more time configuring for Emacs to facilitate development?
Yes, initially it was basically taking away some of the some of the UI features, basically disabling it, and but fairly quickly for both closure development, where I was using Cider, which is like a really good tool, and for Python, when I quickly found ELP, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but you get so much good things from these tools. So what I've done additionally is like theme and maybe having this developer this environment that is without disturbance. So I really like the code to like have the have my full attention. So I rarely have more. Maybe I have like a tree view sometimes, but mostly it's the window or the buffer where I have my code, and I've minimized the running REPL buffer. So sometimes I'm hiding it, but it's still active. So basically that's how I've spent my configuration, like doing that. And also lately trying out some LLM tools. So I think I have two running two packages that I'm using actively today. And my favorite is a tool called Eka, which is LLM chat assistant, which is really good. The developer is also an Emacs enthusiast.
Cool. So, are you the type of person that tends to work with like a master build or build your own Emacs? Are you using the system packages? What's your approach to just get Emacs up and off the ground for yourself?
Oh, I'm not there yet with doing my own builds. So I'm using currently I'm on Mac OS, so I'm installing Emacs through Brew, basically Homebrew.
Mm-hmm.
And I've yet so much Emacs things to learn, because I'm not even using org yet. So I'm like exploring this editor. So I feel like I'm very much a beginner. I'm not using Emacs to its full like potential yet. So I'm counting on that I will be more and more using Emacs for more and more different tasks, basically.
And I'm just seeing a comment. Ed Stallthrout says, thank you for publishing your your configuration and offers a link.
Oh, great. Yes,
Awesome.
those things that I showed in my talk, I haven't made any. I haven't packaged it yet, but everything is on my GitHub, and I've tried to separate each feature in separate Lisp files. So it should be. I hope that it's fairly straightforward to understand how it's set up.
Very good. Let me just scroll down, make sure I'm not missing questions here. Okay, I think those are the questions that we have. We can take a couple more minutes if you're open to that, just for people to consider. I know we're coming up on the lunch hour, so it may be that people are jogging off to to get some food.
Yeah. In Sweden, it's dinner time. It's like 6 p.m. soon.
Yeah, that fits. So are you involved with local Emacs meetups? I know that your part of the world has a really brisk community. You know, a lot of going on. I'm always seeing in Sasha's Emacs news all of the different meetups and so on. I'm curious if you're plugged into local community there at all, or.
No, I haven't. Not in community. I haven't done that yet. But we're like friends that I've gotten to know through work and through open source work that also use Emacs. We talk and share our configs basically on a regular basis because we are. At least in the Python community, we're like a minority. Like other editors are like the standards, but and at work I'm sharing what I'm doing, just like my talk here, to my fellow coworkers that are not on Emacs, but I hope to get their interest up.
So many of us Emacs users are Emacs evangelists.
Yeah.
It's the Emacs, the Venn diagram of Emacs user and Emacs evangelist is a circle, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, David, I super appreciate your talk, and thank you so much also for. I'm sorry, I saw another question here. Let me cover that. Can you repeat the name of the LLM that you specifically mentioned there?
Oh, it's a tool called ECA, ECA, and it's basically a server and clients, and it's not only Emacs. It's has support for other editors, but I think the primary support is for, at least the developer who does it is an Emacs user, and so it's like Emacs first basically. And his name is Eric Dallow. He's like a great developer in the Clojure community. He has done some LSP work in the Clojure world too.
What was the last name? What was Eric's last name?
Eric Dallow, Dallo. Yeah. So I think that's a great tool, but I also use another tool that for some reason I forgot to have this like interactive way of, because Eka is going to, I think they are developing that feature too, but I have another LLM that has support for requests and callbacks basically. So if you can do something programmatically. So that's how I've solved my LLM thing, where I select some Python variables and tell the LLM to populate it with some fake data, so I can send that to the REPL. But for some reason I forgot the name of it. I can look it up. Just give me 1 minute, so I will. Oh yeah, GPTL. That's the name of the other tool, which is also a good tool. But Eka is more like more a chat companion, and you can tell it to write code and things like that. But I mostly use it for reviews and research and like asking questions because I want to. I don't have a problem in typing code. I don't think that slows me down. But maybe getting some quick feedback on the actual work that I'm doing. That's what I'm using an LLM for too, basically, mostly today.
That really hits for me. I don't mind typing either. I think somehow having things be so simple and in many cases just automated, Emacs just does the right thing. It makes me hungry to type. I want to type more. It feels like every keystroke does a little more. Speaking of evangelism, thank you, Papa, for the question. Just gonna peek one more time through, and I don't see a backlog. There are a couple more comments here, linking to ECA Emacs and GPTEL. Comment also saying very cool setup. So I suppose I'll hand it over to you if you have kind of final thoughts or additional wisdoms you want to share. I really appreciate your taking the time to prepare this presentation, especially to do the live Q&A with us.
Thank you. And I haven't anything more than that. I will, of course, I will continue have evolving my setup because there's like new tools and maybe new ideas also coming up. And my what I'm aiming for in Python development is the great developer experience of what's it called, Lisp programming, basically. So that's what I'm aiming at for Python too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Will be just a moment as we're cutting away here. I'll get the recording stopped if I can. And yep, I was able to do that. So you are on your own. Enjoy the conference. I super appreciate you. This conference is you, you know?
Yeah, and thank you for arranging all of this and setting things up. And it's like been really easy for me as a speaker to join in and everything. And I've got so much good information, and so really appreciate your work and being a part of this conference. I'm really happy about it. How about that?
Thanks for that feedback. I'm gonna pass it along to Sasha, who does all the heavy lifting.
I'm here. Yeah, you appreciate too. I'm happy about you too.
Have an awesome afternoon. I'm gonna go take my lunch. I hope you get a good supper.
Okay, thank you. Bye.